So tell me your name.
My name is Johnny.
Yeah, and you had a number you attached to that.
That's my CDC number. That's each person, once they're sentenced, they're given a number.
So when did you get that number?
About a year after I murdered another human being. It was about 1991.
In 1991, you were given what number?
It's called the CDC number.
And what is it?
It's an identification number that each prisoner gets once they're sentenced.
And what's your number?
H.
One day you won't be that number, right?
Right. I'm not that number today.
Tell me about that.
Today I'm a GOGI peer coach. Today I'm somebody who gives back to my community, somebody who is willing to be of service to my community, where there was a time in my life where I was extremely selfish and ungrateful and careless and didn't care about anybody else but myself. And today that's not me.
So before, that old you was that number?
Yes, for the first 20 years of my incarceration.
20 years?
Yes.
Wow. What changed?
For me, GOGI had a huge part in it. There was a lot of things going on in my life. I had just went to board after 20 years of incarceration, and I got denied 15 more years.
Oh.
I was sitting in the hole for an assault. I had a case pending for drug trafficking, and I had a DA referral for drug trafficking as well. And I was sitting in the hole and in ad seg. And for me, that was rock bottom.
And today, it's a very different picture.
Yeah, well, it was actually about 4 years ago. I was sitting in the back of this very day room, in the back of this gym.
Yes.
And you were up here for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting in the back, kind of not participating, just listening.
Right.
But I knew that I needed to change my life. I knew that change needed to happen. And you had said, if you want to be free, if you want to truly experience freedom, be of service to your community.
And you
So
heard that.
I wrote it down.
Oh, you did?
I wrote it down, and I put the date and the fact that you said that.
Are you going to hold me to that now?
Well, actually, I'm holding myself to that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about that level of freedom?
Well, I started thinking that maybe I can be of service to my community. Maybe I can give back. Maybe I can share my experiences, the fact that I've hit rock bottom and decided to adopt these GOGI tools and this lifestyle that comes with GOGI.
Talk to me about the lifestyle. How you know, people get an image of prison life, and they kind of have this sense that it's like constant violence and terrible things. But talk to me about this GOGI lifestyle, this kind of culture that's growing. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, life can be like that for you, but with GOGI, I make better choices.
Okay.
Today with GOGI, I have 12 tools that help me make better decisions. Instead of resorting to violence, I can resort to being boss of my brain.
Okay.
Instead of allowing another person to tell me what to do, I can be boss of my own brain and use 5-second light switch.
Wow.
I can experience true freedom with GOGI.
And all of that, you're doing that and being of service.
Yes.
What do you mean when you're being of service? What do you I know you're teaching GOGI.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you?
Well, every Friday night we come into this gym and we spend about an hour and a half. We have 8 groups with approximately 10 people in each group.
Great.
And we go over the 12 tools of GOGI.
So talk to me about what does the future look like for you? What is that for your future?
For me, the future definitely involves GOGI.
How and why?
Well, one is because it's changed my life so far, and it's led me in a great direction and somewhere where I want to go and spend the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So volunteering, whether it's in here or whether it's out there, I'm going to continue to be involved in GOGI.
Okay, so let's talk about the out there thing. How does that happen for you?
Well, for me, being a term to life inmate,
what does term to life mean?
Someone who's sentenced to either 15 to life, 25 to life, 7 to life, something like that.
Okay.
That's considered a lifer.
Okay.
We're required to go to board, appear before the Board of Prison Terms, and we have to go and show that we're suitable for parole.
Well, that has to be stressful.
It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all how I choose to look at it.
Okay, so when you go in front of these people that really determine whether you get to be free or not, what do you tell them? What are they asking of you?
Well, now I tell them the truth. Before I lied and tried to manipulate them, and
oh, really?
they seen it. They seen it. I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't, and they called me on it.
Okay.
And it was true. But today, it's about being honest. It's about being genuine and authentic. Showing them that I'm remorseful for what I've done. Showing them that I'm truly sorry and continue to make amends for the life that I've taken.
And so you go to the board and they say, okay, we find you suitable. Then what?
Then I contact GOGI. I contact Coach Taylor and Coach Lee, and I let them know I'm on my way home. What can I do to be of service to GOGI on the streets?
And what normally happens is more like transitional housing?
Transitional home.
What does that look like? So you're released here, you go where?
Yeah, you go to a transitional home. For me, I believe that's the best bet because they have the experience of helping me get things such as my ID, Social Security, get my groundwork set, get a foundation set so that once I'm out there, I have my feet on the right track.
Okay. So what is a real ice cream sundae with strawberries going to be tasting like pretty soon? Because you get these things, you don't get those kinds of foods.
No.
Tell me some of the things you're going to go out and get to eat.
Any kind of food, actually.
Really?
Yeah, anything but state food.
So when do you think you'll be home?
By the end of next year.
End of next year?
Yes.
Wow, beautiful. And are you ready?
I'm prepared.
Are you happy?
I'm definitely happy.
Happier than
I've ever been.
Really?
Yeah, thanks to GOGI.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, you have a lot of work to do. You know, we're getting a couple hundred letters a week into our mailroom.
No problem.
We got a couple thousand GOGI groups going on across the nation.
I'll do my best.
Well, you do already.
Yeah.
I want to congratulate you on your good work.
Thank you very much.
We need you in our mailroom.
I'm on my way.
I know you
and
are.
I'll continue to do what I need to do to be out there with all of you.
Are there any other things that you'd like to say?
Just thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for helping me change my life.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me a different outlook. Thank you for giving me something to replace my alcohol and drug addiction, my criminality.
Yeah. You're GOGI for life, huh?
GOGI for life.
Okay.
Yes.
Give me a GOGI hug.
Thank you.
You're wonderful.
Thank you. You are too. My name is Johnny, and I am a face of GOGI.
Johnny has been facilitating GOGI groups within the California prison system since 2012. He is a certified GOGI peer coach and has successfully trained hundreds of prisoners.
My name is Malcolm.
Malcolm, and why are you seated in that chair right now?
Well, I want to represent GOGI to the best of my ability.
Okay, and what does that mean to you?
That means teaching people how to make positive decisions in their lives as I've learned.
And how did you learn that? Who taught you? How did this whole thing happen for you?
Well, I was in my building, I looked up on the bulletin board and there was this sign up there that said, "Getting out by going in." And
what did you think about when you read that name, Getting Out by Going In? What did you think?
Well, I thought these were lawyers coming in to help people learn how or teach people how to get out of prison.
Oh, well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
A team of lawyers that would come in and work with you to get you out of prison.
Yeah.
Well, we're not a team of lawyers.
Well, to my surprise, you were better than a team of lawyers. You taught me how to get out of the prison that I had my own self in within my mind.
Tell me more about that. What does that mean for you? How does that?
Well, that meant for me to understand that the choices and decisions I had been making throughout my past were not who I was. And I wanted to be the best person that I could be for myself.
So let me get this right. The decisions that you were making, you knew, some part of you knew that wasn't the best you could do.
Right, right.
But did you not know how to make the good decisions? Why would you make bad decisions? Or why would you make decisions that were less than your best?
For the first part of my adult life, I was hooked on drugs, doing the wrong things, being involved with people that were not good for me. And I allowed people to make choices and decisions for me. And I just followed along. However, when I came to GOGI and learned the tool of claim responsibility, I learned that by doing and claiming responsibility for my actions, that I didn't have to allow someone else to dictate my program, so to speak.
And now, the last time I was here on a time when you guys did groups, you're sitting with groups and you're actually teaching.
Correct. We get together every Friday night in the gym here, and we have a group of guys, 10 to 12 guys come and sit in our groups, and we provide them with the 12 tools of GOGI. We show them what the tools are and allow them to come to the choice on how they would like to implement them into their lives.
What does that feel like for you to actually be teaching other men about these tools? What does that mean to you? What does that do? You're smiling.
Well, actually, I'd like to share a little story, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
There was a gentleman that was part of one of the groups that I helped facilitate in.
Right.
He walked up to me on the main yard one day and he says, "Hey Malcolm, guess what?" And I'm like, "What's going on?" He says, "I went to the board the other day and the board started questioning me about GOGI. And I just went and told them everything I knew about GOGI and they gave me a date."
Wow.
I was so exhilarated inside for this guy. So to me, that shared that ultimate freedom that he was now experiencing.
Do you think he actually got the date because he
He's
has these tools that he
Well,
can use?
he said that when he went in there, the board looked in the C file,
Right.
saw that he had
What
taken.
is a C file?
Well, it's what the administration uses to keep track of our behaviors,
Oh, I
whether
see.
or not we get in trouble,
Okay.
keep track of our chronos, and what we do while in prison.
Okay, so they looked inside his file and they saw this GOGI thing.
They saw the GOGI chrono that he had received from attending the group.
A group that you led.
Right, and they questioned him about what he had learned from that group. And he was able to articulate how the tools applied to him.
Wow.
And so, you know, he's home now.
That must be a huge sense of satisfaction that you played a part in that man being able to be home.
Yes, it was. So,
And that's one out of, you have a group of 10, you said?
well, one out of a group of 10 to 12 people.
And then you run these groups like often, don't you?
We go through a 12-week course
Okay.
here in the gym.
Okay.
And each week we teach a different tool.
Okay.
We'll give the guys the first tool, which is Bossing My Brain.
Okay.
The next week we'll do belly breathing. The next
Okay.
week 5-second light switch, and so on and so forth until we get through the 12 tools.
And then at the end, they get something that goes into their C file that
Yes.
says they've been part of GOGI.
They've taken a big part in GOGI and they've learned how to utilize the tools to make better decisions and positive choices within their lives.
What a wonderful way to give back to community.
Oh, it's a feeling that you have to experience for yourself.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure you know it because you taught it to me.
Well, and I'm happy that you're able to exponentially teach it to others. That's what GOGI does.
Yeah.
That's what we're about. Okay, do you have any last things you'd like to say? Anything that you would want people to know about you or your journey or about your future?
I'd like people to know who I am as a person, that I've grown from the negative side of life to the positive side of life. I make better choices for myself, for those around me,
Right.
and especially for my family.
Beautiful. So hopefully we'll be able to get your family to be doing GOGI.
Oh,
You
they've already
They do?
begun, yes. Yes, I write my daughter and grandchildren constantly telling them about the 12 tools of GOGI.
So you have a little GOGI grandchild.
Oh, yes, yes.
I love that.
His name's by the way.
Well, you're going to have to send us pictures so we can post him up on the GOGI wall.
All right, will do.
Okay. Thank you, Malcolm.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much.
My name is Malcolm, and I am a face of GOGI.
Malcolm is a recently certified peer coach. Having once been a student, he now has emerged as a dedicated and devoted leader. His students admire his extraordinary compassion.
Okay, so tell us your name.
Matthew.
And Matthew, you're a leader. Talk to us a little bit about leadership. What does leadership mean to you? And how does GOGI help you hone your leadership skills?
Well, GOGI has helped give me the confidence to step out into the forefront and to become a leader. Leading means listening and learning, as well as having the confidence to make decisions even though they may be wrong, and having the confidence to accept failure, and having the confidence to just be out there and to make bold decisions sometimes that some people may not like. But I've learned that it's always about thinking about the majority of the people that will be affected by the choices, as opposed to one or two people.
Yeah, being a leader is challenging because you're balancing a lot of needs and a lot of wants. How do you use your tools when you are making those decisions or trying to guide a group in a certain way, how do you use the tools to help you?
For me, I've had to use a combination of tools.
Okay.
First, belly breathing to calm myself so that I can think more rationally. Sometimes I use let go, where I visualize the issues at hand and I visualize myself squashing it and tossing it to get it out of my system so I don't carry it around with me all the time.
Talk to me a little bit about that. You know, we know let go, it's a GOGI tool, and whatever it is, we put it in our hand, we squash it, and we toss it. Talk to me a little bit about that process. Maybe talk to me about how you teach somebody that tool. How do you teach them that they can put their emotion, or go through that process with me. How do you teach let go, the tool?
What I've learned to do is when I'm facilitating groups, I stress to guys that they can start off by letting go of the small things, like your cellie irritating you because he snores, or he's in the cell, or he's making noises, or whatever it may be, or somebody bumps into you up and down the hallway. And so by practicing to use the tool on just letting little things go and not personalizing everything, it allows you to move forward into bigger and better things. And one of the biggest things that I've had to let go that I like to share with guys, to share a part of me in hopes that they can let things go, is the fact that I was an only child, raised without my father, and that I was a follower, and I had to let go of some of the negative decisions that I've made. But the biggest thing that I've had to let go was learning about 10 years ago that I am a child of rape, and that
your mother was raped?
Yes. And my mother had a decision to either have an abortion or to give me away. But she chose to keep me. And that's been one of the most powerfulest experiences in my life that's empowered me to know that I have value, I have worth, and that I'm on earth for a reason.
That's beautiful. Talk about that reason. How do you know you are here for a purpose and you have value? How do you know that?
Because I've witnessed death, near death, a few times. First from birth, gang shootouts, situations in prison. And I know that with each traumatic experience, I was able to persevere through it, from drug addiction to criminal behavior. Whatever the obstacle it is, I always find a way to pull through and have been very resilient. In fact, my mother's told me that you always find a way to get through when you've basically raised yourself. And I get that strength from her because she's very strong-willed. And that's helped me to get through a lot of different situations, along with using my GOGI tools.
So how can your life experience help others? How can you give them some of that strength? Because there's not a lot of strong people out there. How can you give them some of that strength?
The biggest thing that I try to do is to share the GOGI tools.
I see.
And try to let guys know that if they use them, they can use them in their own creative way, and they can empower themselves. And that I'm not a professional, and I'm not going to tell them how to run their life. And I'm going to give personal examples, because I came to prison at the age of 16 for second-degree murder. And
you were young.
Very young.
You've learned a lot since then.
I have, and I don't want to see any other youngster come to prison and to have to endure the pain and the hardship that I've had to endure, as well as my victims, as well as my family and friends. A lot of people don't know when you come to prison, you bring a whole host of people with you, and they're suffering and doing the time with you.
I see.
When I was younger, I didn't understand that.
I see.
Because I was very selfish.
I see. What a wonderful purpose that you now have to be able to tell your story and help others. It's powerful inside, but you're not always going to be here.
True.
Yeah, you're going to be on the outside.
Yes.
What does that look like for you?
The future for me looks like just like it is in here, starting off small and fighting through some of the mistakes that I made by using reality check. When I run into bumps in the road, I don't have to beat myself up and quit. I can get back up and keep moving forward by going to transitional housing, going to job interviews, volunteering for GOGI, being a mentor, being
Right.
of service, starting off at a low-level job until I can work my way up to getting something that's meaningful, doing public speaking engagements, just starting from the bottom and taking one step at a time.
I think you're poised to be very successful at that.
Thank you. And I want to thank you for introducing the tools, your time, your energy, and your inspiration to all of us.
Thank you. You guys are taking it and running it. GOGI's yours. You own it. So here's the handoff. Run with it.
I will.
It's all yours.
My name is Matthew, and I am a face of GOGI.
Not only is Matthew a peer coach who leads GOGI groups, but he also leads the GOGI efforts in coordinating workshops and events with the prison administration. His attention to detail has secured GOGI its success.
My name is Bray.
Brett,
Yes.
talk to me about being nervous.
Being nervous.
Yeah, like we got cameras here, we got people listening. Talk to me about being nervous.
Being nervous, like right now, it's a new experience to me, being in front of a camera and giving my testimonial to what GOGI is. And because it's new, there's a little bit of guessing going on in my head, you know, kind of like, you know, when I'm asking myself, what if I make the wrong decisions, or what if I say the wrong thing? So
Right.
there's a little bit of nervousness on that. That's about
So
it.
how do the tools help when somebody's nervous? How could, you know, somebody goes in front of the board, or somebody's getting a visit from somebody they haven't seen in a long time. So there's a lot of instances in life when we're nervous.
Yes.
How do the tools help?
I really look at tools like belly breathing.
Okay.
You know, when we're able to get oxygen
Okay.
into our body. You know, we
Okay.
teach to try to get the oxygen into our feet so that it's completely through the body. And just having that oxygen going through your body allows you to relax more, and then you don't focus on making mistakes. You can really focus on what you're trying to get across.
Does that help for the board? Does it help for visits? And does it, in this case, does it help with the camera?
I believe it does. I believe it does. A lot of the things that incarcerated individuals get in their mind, and they try to portray themselves, or even myself. Sometimes in the past, I've tried to portray myself as either more mature or more prepared and stuff like that.
Right.
And inside, I've just been, you know, a mess. You know, so I'm trying to put on the face and stuff like that. And
Right.
then when I reflect on tools that I've learned, like belly breathing, I'm able to actually sit down and just enjoy it and go with the moment.
So would you say that belly breathing is one of your favorite tools?
I like all the tools, to be
Do you?
honest with you. Belly breathing is a very good tool for me.
Right.
You know, I do a lot of facilitating, what have you, and
Yes,
it really helps me a lot when I get up there. If I might walk up there nervous, and then when I get up there, I just try to make light of it.
Yeah.
So belly breathing does help me out on that a lot.
Do you see the tools being applied with the population here, with the men here at this prison? Can you tell somebody who's utilizing tools and maybe some that aren't? Is there a difference?
Definitely.
Really?
Yeah, I get a lot of guys come up to me every day, and sometimes
Every day?
Yeah, sometimes, you know, whether I'm at work or whether I'm in school or something like that, they'll always want to talk about a tool or whatever. And then I'll see I kind of figure myself as a student of life. So
Okay.
I watch a lot of what's going on around me, you know, and I try to socialize myself that way, but also I see other guys that are on the line and just the relationships they're having. I see a difference in the individuals that they were, say, a year ago,
see.
and the communication they were having then. And now they're more communicating with each other and having a relationship instead of just a one-on-one conversation or a two-on-one conversation, however you want to say it. Yeah.
Bunch of talking heads and no one's
Yeah,
listening.
yeah, nobody's listening. Nothing's getting across, but I
see.
do notice that there's more of a relationship being built, and that's helping the culture of this institution grow by GOGI, by the tools of GOGI. That's great.
So tell me, are you a different man than you were, say, 5 or 10 years ago?
Oh, I have witnesses to that.
Really?
I have witnesses to that. Yes, I'm definitely a different
How would
man.
you have described yourself even just 10 years ago? What kind of guy were you then?
10 years ago, I was a very selfish individual. I was very selfish. I grew up in a single-parent family. I had experienced a lot of abuse, a lot of neglect, and stuff like that. So I had no teachings.
I see.
The teachings I did have were all violence. So I had made for myself relationships that were based on a bunch of bad lessons. Using the GOGI tools, I get to claim responsibility for accepting those lessons in my life, and being able to detach myself from those allows me to be more natural in my relationships.
Which is really odd, because you're actually teaching people how to have good relationships with these tools.
Definitely, definitely.
So that's a very big transformation that has occurred.
Yes.
Does it feel different?
It feels liberating.
Really? What do you mean?
It feels liberating.
Really?
I heard you yourself explain how you have this immense ultimate freedom in your life.
Right.
And that's what I feel now.
Really?
As opposed to 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, where I was still, trying to find my way through it. And then when I got the GOGI tools, it all opened up for me. And now I just feel so liberated that I'm not attached to those bad lessons that I had in the past. It's fantastic.
What would you say to somebody who's maybe sitting in their cell, they turn on the TV and they see you up on the screen talking? What would you want them to think about or consider or do?
Hopefully they're in their cell reading GOGI.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be nice.
That'd be very nice.
Really, when I speak to a lot of guys, I ask them to consider what their actions are going to do for their life. Always make a positive choice in whatever they're deciding to do. So if they're sitting in their house and they got all this time on their hand, maybe they can open a book, maybe they can get into some education, what have you.
Right.
And that's a lot of what we talk about when they approach me on the line. If we're always talking about positive choices, and I'm always trying to, just give them options. Instead of negative options, choose a positive option. Go back to school, get something positive for your life, because the more you do that, the more you're going to get out of it.
You've come a long way since you first entered places like this.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you're going to be the strong marketing executive as you leave this place too, I have a feeling.
Yeah, I have some plans.
Yes, I do. I believe you do. Last words you'd like to say?
GOGI for life.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're a wonderful, valued member of our GOGI team.
Thank you.
And you're very appreciated.
Thank you. My name is Britt, and I am a face of GOGI.
Brett is a peer coach with a ready smile and a welcoming personality. His goodwill towards all of his students helps inspire them to be the very best they can be.
My name is Reginald.
What do you think about this? Is this kind of strange?
It's unique.
Is it?
Yes, because it's the first time that I've ever been filmed.
It is?
Yes.
Give me a high five on that.
Yes.
That's beautiful. You even brought a cue card.
Well, it was just some thoughts that I woke up with this morning.
Okay.
And it pertains to GOGI.
Okay.
Know. It pertains to my favorite tool, boss of my brain. I've never been really in the smart part of my brain.
What do you mean?
I've always been into the emotional part and the old habits.
I see.
The lifestyle that I lived, it was all irrational.
Irrational?
Yes. It was 100% criminal thinking.
Where did you learn all that? Was it your environment? Were you just being...
Well, it was my environment. Some of the things I picked up from my oldest brothers.
I see.
All that I picked up was a choice. I choose to do the things that I did.
Right.
Because growing up, I was insecure. I was born cross-eyed, red hair.
You were born cross-eyed?
Yes.
With red hair?
With red hair and freckles. And
so where are the freckles, where's the red hair, and how did you straighten out your eyes?
I had to go through like 3 surgeries when I was little.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow.
I went through 3 surgeries. I lost my hair when I started this adversity of living in prison.
That's an incredible story. That would build insecurity in anyone.
Well, I dealt with my insecurities by associating myself with a negative crowd.
I see.
Because they overlooked the things that I was worried about. And I felt power.
I see.
I felt balance. I felt wanted and needed. And that false power I ran with.
Do you think that a lot of youngsters today, they make the poor choices for the same reason?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I feel that, you know, as an adolescent, we feel a lot of things and we don't know how to address it to our parents. And we feel that as adolescents, our parents don't understand what we're going through.
I see.
And
but that does not describe you today.
Well, no. It
Other
took a
than
lot.
being a little camera shy.
Yes, I am camera shy. But this adversity that I've been through, it wasn't easy. When I entered the system, I was angry. I was bitter.
How old were you?
19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was angry and bitter. I'm in prison for something I didn't do. Mm-hmm. And for almost 2 decades, I placed blame on others. I walked with bitterness with my chin up. I was angry. Everything was considered violent to me.
What happened? What changed?
Well, after coming to prison and continued a repetitive cycle of irrational behavior, I was starting to let the time get the best of me. So I turned to the person that, you know, I knew to really love me.
You got it.
It was my mother.
Beautiful.
So I wrote like a 14-page letter to her, expressing the hurt and asking for forgiveness through what I made her settle for. I entered prison with no high school diploma, no GED, nothing that I can say what she raised me to be. Only with the false fame that came with my irrational ways of thinking. In return, she got back at me. She, you know, got back at me.
So she got this, she received a 14-page letter from you.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
So,
when you mailed that off, what were you thinking?
Well, I tried to ease her.
Okay.
I tried to ease her. I tried to ease the pain that I knew she was going through by having the youngest child in prison. At the time, I just, in 98, lost my sister. Lost my grandfather, her father. And she had just given me news that I lost my brother. So, in the midst of thinking that I was strong, I just wrote what I felt. And I just wanted to let her know that I was sorry. Well, in return, she spoke to me like a mother and told me that I should embrace what I'm feeling because I placed myself in the situation. And not to ponder on why I'm there, but to learn from my situation. And at first, the child in me came out because I was like, wow, that's not what I was expecting.
What were you expecting?
For her to really understand what I was feeling.
Right.
And she gave me that tough love. She gave me her version of, I love you, but you have to accept the life that you choose. I moved forward. In 2007, I graduated from college.
Beautiful. Really?
Yes.
Beautiful.
I gave a speech, and I never knew that was the last time I was gonna see her smile.
Your mom was there at the graduation?
Yes.
So she got to see you and hear you.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And that was the last time I ever seen her smile. In 2009, 2 years later, I lost my mother to cancer. And it was a make or break me moment.
Right.
And I turned to the person that always been there, was my wife. And I made that decision, if I break, I can't be there for my family. So I moved on and listened to your push to GOGI.
I was pushing you.
Yes, you pushed me. And I gravitated to the boss of my brain.
Okay.
And it felt good finding a purpose and being able to tell my story with being the boss of my brain.
Yeah.
I love let go because I now know how to embrace my pain and speak from it, hoping that I can be a testament to somebody else that's dealing with adversity such as mine.
You've had your fair share.
I'm still having it,
Yeah.
but I'm blessed.
So what's your purpose today?
Well, my purpose today is to share my life story with others.
And you brought a piece of paper. Let me just read just a few lines here. I've not seen this before. Oh, your writing is beautiful.
I wrote that this morning.
Okay.
I woke up with GOGI on my mind.
Yes, I see. To embrace the pain from choices that were unhealthy, I have learned to let go of the bitterness and anger, to find substance in my life from learning from my previous ways of living. I've been blessed all my life. It's beautiful. You certainly have a purpose.
Yes, I do.
You also have a letter from me.
Yes.
What was I telling you?
Well, you're always telling this. Teach people the way of GOGI.
Yeah.
Represent GOGI as you want to see them, as you want people to see you.
And you do a beautiful, excellent job of that.
Thank
Even
you.
without the red hair, without the freckles, and without the crooked eye, you're just perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. I am Reginald, and I am a face of GOGI.
Reginald's story of his childhood makes him an ideal peer coach. He is an inspiration for anyone suffering from the challenges of trauma experienced in their youth.
My name is Matthew.
Matthew, and you've been a GOGI leader for how long?
It's been about 3 years now.
And what drew you to GOGI? What was interesting about it? Because I know you're educated. You participate in a lot of educational opportunities. What was it about GOGI that struck your interest?
I think GOGI was one of the real first self-help groups I got involved in.
Really? I thought that you'd been involved in education for a long time.
Education, yes. I mean like personal self-help groups that really gets into issues concerning your own personal story outside just the academic aspect.
So you'd been on this academic track for a long time.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I know. Yes, yeah. You're an avid reader, an avid studier. You know your academics.
Yeah.
But at some point, GOGI became an option for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of my time in prison has been at other facilities.
Okay.
And they don't really offer a lot as far as self-help groups.
I see.
When I came here, when I transferred to this institution, GOGI was one of the first that I came into contact with.
And what was that like, from going to book studies and courses and things to GOGI? What was that like?
Well, at first for me, it wasn't a whole lot different because we didn't have an established group. And it was in my cell, doing the curriculum on my own, sending in homework, reading the pamphlets. And
well, who first introduced you then to GOGI?
it was a friend of mine who had done the same thing.
I see.
He was doing the course himself in his cell and mailing in the homework. And I believe he was in contact with you at that same time.
Who was that?
Caesar.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, so Caesar was writing to GOGI, and then he said, why don't you write to GOGI and do the course? Yes. And then all of a sudden, we started having a workshop. And
the ball started rolling, and we got the groups approved under one of the ILTAGs here.
Right.
And we started meeting in process groups.
So you've been from the very, very beginning, you've
Yes.
been part of GOGI. How have you seen it grow?
Oh, it's grown exponentially.
Really?
Our waiting list is astronomical now. Yeah, we can't run groups fast enough.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
And what about the whole prison culture? You know, you don't think of prisons, at least a lot of people don't think of prisons as being positive. But from what you're telling me, a long waiting list to get in to do this program.
Yeah, absolutely.
How is the culture affected?
The culture, the culture at this prison
Yeah.
is by far much different than any prison I've been to. And that is due in large part, I believe, to groups like GOGI in particular.
Yeah.
Most places have maybe AA, NA, if you're lucky, a Toastmasters group, but they don't have these sort of self-helps. groups that help you change, help you transform, that really allow you to get to your issues.
Yeah.
And here, I don't know how much you know about prison, but it's very political.
Okay.
There are a lot of walls that are built amongst inmates, and that thrives in other institutions. And here, because of groups like GOGI, those walls are broken down, and communication lines are opened. Different gangs, different races, we intermix and we talk and we become friends, whereas before in other institutions that just doesn't happen. And there's a huge culture shift because of that.
Tell me, what was the one thing that you learned about yourself doing GOGI? What did you learn about yourself as you went through the initial process, mailing your work in, then taking the course, and then actually facilitating the course? What did you learn about yourself?
I never really took the time before GOGI
Okay.
to sit down and really look at deep issues. Like, I know the curriculum was a little bit different when I first went through it.
Right.
I believe Let Go was tool 1.
Well, you've been around a long time.
Yeah. One of the very first homework assignments that week was to sit down and write your own eulogy. And that's pretty deep. I mean, when you think about how you want to be remembered when you die, how you want your friends, your family, your loved ones to think about you when you're gone, it's pretty heavy. And it really makes you think, what kind of legacy do I want to leave when I'm gone?
Well, let me ask you, what kind of legacy are you going to leave when you're gone?
Hopefully a great one.
Like what? What do you see in your mind's eye? What's possible for you?
Well, I guess using the tool What If, looking at situations from a world of possibilities, no limits.
No limits?
No limits.
Like what? If you had your dream come true, what would be some of the things that you would do?
Well,
I want to
leave a mark. I want to change the world. I want to have an impact in people's lives. Since getting involved in GOGI and being a facilitator, I've made friends and connections with people I never would have imagined.
Really?
And there's times now when I'll go to the yard thinking I'm going to get a decent workout in, and as soon as I get out there, one of my GOGI guys will run up to me and have a question about the group that we had that week, and before you know it, 2 hours had passed, and the whole time we were just walking around the track talking about GOGI, and seeing the impact that I'm making on these people is fantastic. It's remarkable.
So you're actually creating this eulogy every day.
Yes.
By your actions.
It appears to be so.
Yeah, you're leaving your mark every day. How does that feel?
It's awesome. It feels wonderful. Knowing that I could impact somebody's life in that way. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, good job. What would you like the world to know about you?
About me?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a hard question.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's about Matt.
Yeah. What does the world need to know about Matt?
I guess that I am a transformed individual.
Yes.
And I'm living a life of ultimate freedom. And in addition to that, a life of service, giving back to those that I never thought I once would have touched.
And you're making your mark, that's for sure. We're happy to have you with GOGI.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your service.
Thank you. I'm Matt, and I'm a face of GOGI.
Matthew is a peer coach committed to supporting the positive culture of GOGI. His broad education on a variety of subjects helps encourage this positive culture we call GOGI.
You said your heart was beating fast.
Yeah, I'm actually a little nervous. First time I've ever been on film.
Ever?
Ever.
Wow, the pressure's on here. We better do a good job.
It feels like it.
Should we have rehearsed?
No.
Okay, so if we did rehearse, kind of what would you want me to be asking you?
I think for me, the most important thing is to share what GOGI has done for me.
What has it done?
It's really offered me tools for transformation. You know, and I grew up with a dysfunctional home with like a lot of people. I assume that come to prison, And growing up, I grew up with a lot of insecurities, witnessing a lot of violence. And even as I entered my adolescent years, I believed that I was destined to fail.
Wait a second. From the time you were an adolescent, you felt you were destined to fail?
I thought that I was.
Where did you get that information?
Just my growing up, witnessing a lot of violence. My mom was murdered when I was 5 years old.
Oh.
My dad was in prison. My dad was released when I was 9 years old. And with my dad, I was exposed to a lot of violence.
I see.
And for me, growing up, I didn't do good in school. And my way of getting attention was to just getting into fights in school and getting in trouble.
I see.
And growing up, my grandmother and my uncle would tell me, if you keep going the way you're going, you're either going to end up dead or you're going to end up in prison.
So they would tell you that?
They would tell me that as a kid.
And would you even hear them, or did you ignore them, or did you
No,
just...
I started to believe that.
Oh, you started to believe it?
I started to believe that.
I'm heading down this road and I'm going to die or be in prison.
Exactly. That's why I said I felt that I was destined to fail. And be that my dad was in prison, I said, well, that's just the way it is.
Do you think that's the way it is for a lot of kids who have parents in prisons? Do you think that kind of sets them up to think that they're going to go down that road?
Well, the GOGI tools, you got positive thoughts, positive words, positive actions.
Right.
And one of the things is positive words are, that's energy.
Right.
Words themselves contain so much energy, so much power in them. And when we speak to people, I think we should be consciously aware of what it is that we're saying because of the power that those words contain. And you can encourage somebody to grow and be whatever he wants to be in life, or you can discourage somebody and cause him to fail by causing him to
you know
doubt
that
himself.
firsthand.
Exactly, to doubt himself. So
right.
At the age of 17, I had a life sentence.
17?
At the age of 17, I picked up a life sentence.
Wow.
Before that, a juvenile record. When I think I was like 16 years old, I just started believing that I was going to go to prison. I had distorted beliefs, real men go to prison.
That was your belief?
Yeah, that was one of my beliefs, that real men go to prison.
I see.
Real men carry guns. Respect is earned through violence. So I started engaging. In that behavior. I disassociated myself from positive friends, guys that were graduating and that kind of stuff, because I felt out of place. And conversations will come up, they're talking about graduation and ceremonies, and I felt out of place because I was failing in school.
I see.
So
why were you failing? Was that, what was it? Was it the teacher? Was it the classroom? Were you just not getting the information?
I think it was, I didn't give myself an opportunity.
Really?
I think that's what it was. I didn't give myself an opportunity to want to learn. You know, I bought into the belief that I wasn't cut out for school.
Oh.
So with that belief, I just stopped trying. I said, well, I'm not even going to try. So I started engaging in criminal activity, and that's the attention that I was getting.
So from 17 to now, a lot has happened.
Oh, yes.
I mean, honestly, you're on your way home soon.
Yes.
Yeah. What's transpired in that segment of time?
I started questioning my life. I started questioning my life. I started to open myself up and educate myself. First time I got my GED, the first time I tried it, so that was a great confidence booster for me. Yeah. And with that, I was like, wow, you know what? I can learn if I give myself a chance. So I began to educate myself, and then I began to open myself up to spirituality, something that I didn't have before. And with that, then I started getting myself involved in self-help groups and started to really believe in myself and understand that what people tell you doesn't have to make it so. It's up to you whether you want to believe it or not.
So what do you tell your men when you lead a GOGI group? What do you tell them?
Basically, we are what our thoughts say that we are. I believe that we're programmed from the time that you're a kid to the time that you're a grown man. And being a grown man is taking the responsibility to screen out your thoughts and your beliefs. What are they and how are they serving me today? And if they're not serving you to where it is that you want to go in life, then it's time to get rid of that.
So where do you want to go in life? Where do you want to go?
I see myself working with foster kids.
Do you really?
I really don't.
Wow, awesome. And what would you do?
Build them up. That's what I would do. I would build them up.
Yeah. And how would you do that?
I would share my experiences, and I'm I'm not too far from what they went through. My mom's murdered, my dad's imprisonment. Yeah. I got bounced around quite a bit.
Sure.
So that I have
means
that
a lot
experience.
to you.
It does. It does, and I know that a lot of kids out there, especially in foster homes, they're already believing that they're not good enough. And I believe that that's my calling. Is to come in there and share my experiences, what I've been through, and connect with them on that level, and be able to bring the GOGI tools and everything that I can to build them up and get them to believe in who they are.
And what would that mean to you if they actually believed that they could succeed?
My purpose. You know, before I didn't have a purpose in life.
Yeah.
And because I didn't have a purpose in life, I didn't have any direction. I just did whatever came up. Now I see that as my calling, as my purpose in life.
Is what?
It's to help out kids, especially foster kids. I think that right there would be ultimate freedom for me. It would be my life's purpose, my fulfillment.
Well, you're getting a lot of practice because you've got a lot of grown men now who are relying on you to teach them.
That's true. That's true, and it's challenging. Yet at the same time, I use this opportunity as a stage, as a platform to train, to learn, to practice myself, and to connect with people.
And when do you go before the board?
Thursday.
On Thursday?
I go to the board this coming Thursday.
And when are you going to hear that you are kicked out of here and on your way home?
If they find me suitable, I got 5 months after that. So we're talking about sometime in February or March.
Well, good. We hope to see you in the GOGI mailroom.
I will be there.
Yes, you will. We're expecting it.
That's right.
5 months and 1 day. We're going to be at your doorstep taking you down there to help us answer the mail.
I will be there.
Good. And we've got a lot of foster kids that need some help.
I'm available.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to make myself available to that.
All right. Give me a GOGI hug. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Daniel, and I am a face of GOGI.
Daniel's commitment to the Spanish-speaking community is one of the reasons why hundreds of Spanish-speaking men have participated in GOGI groups. He has earned the respect of his students and is totally GOGI por vida.
My name is Sean.
Sean today, I bet, was very different than Sean as a child.
Most definitely.
Really? You say that with great commitment.
Yes, I was.
So let's talk about that youngster. Let's talk about who he was and why he was the way he was.
Someone who was rambunctious, no sense of direction, follower, codependent on others to identify who I was.
Really?
Yes, most definitely.
That's not who you are today.
No, it's not.
Why are you thinking that way? What was going on in your life that you developed this codependency and insecurities? What was going on?
Well, I had a lot of insecurities going on in my life.
Why?
Low self-esteem, being bullied, having to fight, trying to make peace with others, and it was something that I got accustomed to doing on a regular basis.
I see.
And my negative peers were already doing it, so I just continued to commit it to that lifestyle.
I see. How did it feel as a kid? What were you thinking? Were you thinking this is a cool life, or what was going through your mind as you were growing up?
Well, at that time, actually it was cool.
It was?
Yes, because my negative peers, they had all the girls.
I see.
Everyone was attracted to them, and I wanted that attention as well. So
I see.
became a follower.
I see. And then what happened? Somewhere along the line, you weren't able to do what you were doing.
No, obviously I got incarcerated.
Okay, and when did it switch for you? Because the man you're describing as a youngster is very different than the man sitting here. Okay. So take me through that process. What happened?
Well, once I committed second-degree murder, I was engaged in a drug deal gone bad, and I didn't have to go that route. My father, he owned his own business. I was his only son, and leading up to that point in my life, I thought I was doing the right thing. Obviously, I wasn't.
Wow.
I had a lot of positive influences in my life, and I just didn't take heed to their advice.
Right. Okay, so you're incarcerated. Your parents were still in your life at that time?
Yes.
What were they thinking, and how were you responding and reacting to them?
I told them it wasn't their fault. I told them to raise me the right way.
I see.
My peers had more influence on me.
I see.
And I just dropped the ball. Ultimately, I ended up in prison. I shamed them. I embarrassed them. I I constantly kept making mistakes even while I was incarcerated.
You did?
Yes, most definitely.
Really?
Yes.
So you got incarcerated. You said, Mom and Dad, it's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's my decisions. There's nothing to do with it. But then you still kept making bad decisions?
Yes, because I didn't want to accept reality of how my life is. I constantly kept trying to numb the feeling of the shame and embarrassment that I put on them, that I put on myself.
I see.
And by doing that, I was engaging in smoking marijuana, drinking, just to try to separate myself, sensitize myself from reality.
So when did things start to change for you? Because that's very different than how you're living today. You're a GOGI leader.
Exactly.
You're living by example. So how did you get from one extreme to the next?
My GOGI brothers indoctrinated me.
Are you serious?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, I was going to work one day. I worked in the kitchen, and about 5 in the morning, and I seen, I guess his name was Suni, and he was doing a lot of writing, and I was curious. I said, man, what are you writing? He said, well...
At 5 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly. I was waiting to prepare the meals and stuff of that nature. So he was writing, and I said, well, what are you writing? He said, well, I'm doing my GOGI assignment. I said, GOGI? What's GOGI? He showed me the paper, and I said, well, how can I partake in this? Because I got a lot going on in my life, and I need to try to change this destructive habit that's been perpetuating in my life for ongoing years.
Right.
And he said, well, I'll share my paperwork with you, and you can go ahead from there. Made a copy of the assignment, and from that morning on, I started doing my own lessons.
Yeah, you have a thick academic file back in our office.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there.
Yes.
What have you learned?
Well, the first tool that I did apply in my life was let go.
Oh,
I was carrying a lot of past, regret, resentment, and self-pity. And that was something that I kept harboring. And I had to let those go. That was my first step that I applied in my life.
And what do you teach your men? When you get together with them in your groups, what do you teach them?
What I try to do, I try to give them my example, my experience, and how I apply the tools in my life.
Yeah.
And that gives them motivation. They say, well, if he can do it, I can.
What kind of man are you today?
I'm a man of integrity. I have a positive outlook now. I have self-esteem. I'm more confident. And I know the direction I'm headed.
What are you going to do when you get home?
Well, I like to start my own business.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to take over my father's forklift business, but
Right.
I have a couple of ideas. I hope that I can get a chance and show that I'm not the man that I was back then at the age of 24.
And now you have the leadership experience too.
Exactly.
And you got some GOGI tools. That's going to help.
And I got some GOGI brothers and GOGI sisters.
There you go.
Yes, I do.
I love it. A growing group.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, we're happy to have you as part of the family.
Thank you. I'm happy to be with you.
Thank you.
My name is Sean, and I'm a face of GOGI.
Sean has an impressive academic file of his GOGI work. When he earned his peer coach certification, he became an ideal leader for the weekly GOGI group.
Buenas tardes, Sergio.
Buenas tardes.
¿Cómo está usted ahora?
Bien, bien, ¿y usted?
Muy bien, gracias. Quisiera saber cómo era su vida antes de empezar a hacer GOGI.
Bueno, en el pasado era una persona muy egoísta que siempre pensaba en lo que yo deseaba, lo que yo quería y cómo hacerlo personalmente. Después de que fui a la tabla, me negaron. Durante esa negación, un amigo mío me habló sobre este programa. Me dijo que este programa me podía ayudar en mis situaciones por las cuales me habían negado. No lo creía de primero, pero cuando vine y empecé a escuchar de GOGI, miré las herramientas que eran muy prácticas, muy sencillas, muy efectivas, y sí tenían la forma de ayudarme y asistirme.
¿Y en qué manera le ayudaron estas herramientas que usted aprendió?
Me ayudaron primero a tener control de mi cerebro. Son cosas que para hacer mis decisiones, para pensar mejor, para actuar mejor en una forma. Me pusieron una alerta de cómo funcionaba mi cerebro para poderlo incluirlo en mi propia vida personal.
¿Cómo usted ha podido acoplarse en esta vida, estando en la cárcel, usando esas herramientas y cómo las puede enseñar a los demás?
Pues ahora puedo vivir una vida más práctica, más positiva, porque ahora cuando vienen pensamientos negativos, simplemente uso la herramienta de pensamientos positivos para remover esa negatividad y impulsarlo con algo positivo en mi vida para vivir mejor y sentirme mejor de la persona que aún soy el día de hoy.
¿Qué clase de persona es usted ahora?
Una persona sencilla, normal, práctica, que ama a la persona, que quiere asistir a su comunidad, ser efectivo en lo que hago, pienso positivo de mí, creo en mí.
¿Cómo cree usted que también los demás lo miran a usted?
Bueno, creo que los demás tienen su propio juzgamiento personal Creo que no puedo yo hablar por la persona en sí, pero puedo hablar espero que yo esté transmitiendo algo positivo en ellos que yo trato de aplicar en mi vida personal.
¿Qué quiere decir GOGI por vida para usted?
Para mí significa una vida positiva, una vida alerta a herramientas sencillas y prácticas que pueden hacer cambios, momentos cruciales en mi vida. Como por ejemplo, cuando me encuentro en situaciones negativas, puedo usar la herramienta de ¿qué tal sí? Para recordarme siempre que tengo otras opciones, que siempre hay formas de cómo remover cosas en mi vida y avanzar hacia el frente. Es una forma de vivir, un estilo de vivir.
Ahora, ¿qué clase de persona usted quiere o qué clase de legacía usted desea dejar en el mundo? Digamos, el día de mañana usted fallezca.
Me gustaría dejar una persona que hizo un error muy grande hace 30 años, en 1986, cometió un crimen, le quité la vida a otra persona, pero durante ese tiempo, desde entonces hasta hoy, he hecho todo lo posible por cambiar mi vida, lo he logrado. Y he hecho todo lo positivo por dejar algo positivo en las conciencias de personas y contribuir a mi sociedad, de mis habilidades, mi tiempo, mi personalismo, mis formas de ser hacia ellos. Y espero que ellos hayan aprendido algo de mi ejemplo, que sea un ejemplo de cambio en la vida de las personas que aún vienen detrás de mí.
Muchos hombres pueden tener temor de empezar a hacer GOGI porque en su mente, en la mente de un hombre especialmente, puede ser que el GOGI no es tan macho como decimos.
Personalmente yo creo que no es el objetivo primordial de ellos, yo creo que es una excusa porque tienen temor al cambio de sus vidas, tienen temor de mirar qué hay dentro de sí, porque de eso se trata GOGI, de mirar dentro de ti y poder sacar y escudriñar eso que existe dentro, que no te ha dejado hacer efectivo en tu vida. Y es el temor yo creo que tienen, pero ya cuando empiezan, creo que no hay personas ahorita que yo haya experimentado que no se haya gustado de GOGI, porque dicen que GOGI ya cuando empezaron les gustan los pensamientos positivos, les gustan las palabras positivas, a todo el mundo le gusta la acción positiva, todos queremos dejar ir cosas en nuestras vidas para seguir avanzando, no queremos quedar estancados. Creo que cuando pasan la experiencia, el experimento de esta clase, ellos se van a fascinar, van a mirar el cambio, la diferencia que existe en sí. Pero por primera vista, creo que el peor temor de la persona no es el nombre de GOGI y las herramientas sencillas y prácticas, es el temor a un cambio verdadero.
Ahora que usted aprendió estas herramientas de GOGI, ¿cuál es la que le ha afectado más o el que le ha ayudado más a usted a hacer este gran cambio?
Pensamientos positivos, porque todo empieza con pensamientos positivos. Mis acciones son movidas y creadas por mis pensamientos. Mis pensamientos, si lo que yo pienso de mí, eso va a crear mis acciones. Si tengo un pensamiento negativo, va a resultar en una acción negativa. Pero si tengo un pensamiento positivo, empiezo a creer en mí, empiezo a susurrar dentro de mi conciencia algo positivo de mí. Voy a tener cosas positivas y acciones positivas en mi vida. Y esas cosas positivas van a aumentar a que yo crea en mí más y tener más confianza en mí y poder mirar que hay algo positivo en mi vida que puede ser efectivo para la comunidad y la sociedad.
Ahora, ¿cómo se mira usted ahora? ¿Qué tan diferente se mira usted ahora de la persona a la persona que usted era anteriormente, antes de empezar a hacer GOGI?
Me miro muy diferente a la persona que era anteriormente, era negativo antes de entrar al programa, pero eso es parte de lo que es, de lo que soy. Creo que no quiero alojarme de ello tampoco porque siempre miro el reflejo a mis desarrollamientos sobre ello y construyo sobre ello porque es un recuerdo para mí positivo que no puedo borrar, sino que puedo construir en ello una forma positiva. Y eso me alienta, me ayuda para fortalecerme para el día de mañana y creer en mí.
¿Tiene usted GOGI por el resto de su vida?
Por supuesto que sí, porque GOGI lo practico diariamente, lo vivo sin pensarlo, automáticamente fluye.
¿Usted quiere decir que las herramientas de GOGI no tiene que pensarlas para usarlas? Solamente le brotan y usted las automáticamente las usa.
Por supuesto que sí.
Estamos felices, contentos y satisfechos de que usted es uno de los líderes de GOGI en español. así como usted y los demás han hecho los grupos. Estamos muy orgullosos de tener GOGI en español, así también como ustedes siendo los líderes también.
Yo creo que más orgulloso soy yo, porque más privilegiado soy yo, porque yo aprendo de las personas que aún a GOGI las herramientas han podido cambiar y ser parte de sus vidas. Yo les agradezco profundamente a ustedes el sacrificio, el esfuerzo que hacen por uno y la creencia en uno que motiva a uno para seguir avanzando al frente. Me llamo Sergio y yo soy un rostro de GOGI.
Sergio ha crecido en sí mismo con su experiencia como entrenador de pares. Su crecimiento en confianza como líder de grupo beneficia a los dos grupos español y inglés.
Buenas tardes, Francisco. ¿Cómo está usted ahora?
Buenas tardes. Gracias a Dios me encuentro bien.
¿Ustedes son los líderes de GOGI, sí o no?
Bueno, soy un facilitador de GOGI este es mi cuarto o tercer ciclo que participo como uno de los facilitadores.
¿Cómo llegó usted a escuchar, a conocer GOGI? ¿Cómo fue que usted llegó a ser GOGI?
Bueno, al principio cuando yo supe de GOGI fue a través de uno de los flyers que ponen en un anuncio. Miré el nombre de GOGI, me llamó la atención, comencé a investigar un poco más de ello y cuando abrieron el primer grupo en español salí en la lista y participé como cualquier otro participante y ahí fue donde yo empecé a conocer de las herramientas y a practicarlas en mi vida.
¿De qué manera le han ayudado las herramientas a usted a cambiar su vida?
Bueno, yo era una persona tímida, como acaban de decir, tímida, tenía mucha vergüenza, inseguridad y era muy corajudo. Entonces no hallaba la manera de cómo controlar y mejorar mi actitud y mi forma de ser hasta cuando llegué al grupo de GOGI. En la primera herramienta, que es la herramienta Jefe de mi cerebro, fue ahí donde yo tuve un abrir de ojos, de entender de por qué yo funcionaba de esa manera. La manera era que yo estaba funcionando en las áreas que era lo emocional y los viejos hábitos. Entonces, por ende, estaba tomando, la mayoría de mis decisiones eran basadas en eso y estaba tomando muy malas decisiones. Y cuando ya supe que tenía otra área en mi cerebro, la cual podía usar y con la cual podía tomar mejores decisiones, eso fue para mí algo grandioso, algo que me benefició y de ahí para adelante comencé a practicarlo en cada momento de mi vida. Cuando encontraba una situación que me fuera a sacar, o me fuera a hacer pasar un mal rato, rápido me acordaba, yo soy patrón de mi cerebro, yo soy jefe de mi cerebro y yo debo actuar como tal. No tengo que dejarlo que él actúe bajo la información que tiene ya o que yo le puse a través de los años en el área de los viejos hábitos. Entonces, de ahí empecé a trabajar, a no dejarlo actuar por él mismo. Comencé a dictarle yo lo que era más conveniente para mí como persona, comencé a dictar lo que era más conveniente para mí y era más positivo para todos. Esa fue la manera que me ha ayudado y me ha cambiado en que ahora soy una persona más positiva, soy una persona más paciente, soy una persona que trato de entender a los demás, no como antes era una persona egoísta, que primero era yo, quería que los demás me entendieran, quería que los demás hicieran las cosas a mi manera. Ahora no, ahora ya la cosa poco a poco, trabajando la herramienta, ha cambiado. Ahora soy una persona que trato de entender primero a los demás y ya enseguida a mí. Esa es la manera que me ha ayudado a cambiar y pues estoy contento porque no solamente yo lo he notado, sino que otras personas también me lo han dicho y estoy contento y agradecido con lo que he logrado en el grupo de GOGI.
Ahora que usted está usando estas herramientas, ¿cómo piensa usted que su familia lo mira en este momento? ¿Qué tan diferente era el hombre de ahora al hombre anterior?
Bueno, ahora mi familia, como me mira, tanto mis hijos como mis hermanos, es que ya no ven a aquella persona impaciente, explosiva por las cosas, cualquier cosa me saltaba, me enojaba. Ahora también otra persona que cuando tratan un tema conmigo o algo, lo tomo con más calma, pienso, y sobre de ello, basado en eso, lo que me han platicado, lo que me han dicho, ya sea que los aconseje o les dé una sugerencia para cómo hacer las cosas diferentes. Y ellos lo notan, ellos han notado que no soy la persona que era antes, en muchas formas, ¿me entienden? Una manera que lo hablo, una manera que razono sobre cosas que estoy enfrentando o que ellos me están compartiendo de lo que están viviendo ellos allá. Antes a veces me compartían alguna cosa y yo explotaba, hey, tiene que ser así, porque esa era mi manera de ser. Y entonces, ahora no, ahora medito y trato de aconsejarlos de la mejor manera, a que lleguen ellos a tener tomen una decisión más positiva sobre lo que ellos están enfrentando.
Ahora, ¿de qué manera usted ha impactado a la comunidad con estas herramientas? ¿Cómo las enseña y cómo planea continuando con esas herramientas, enseñándolas?
Bueno, la manera que en la comunidad ahorita en la que me encuentro son, por ejemplo, mis amigos, mis compañeros aquí en la yarda. Trato de, no solamente de decirla, sino también de vivirla día con día. Que ellos miren mi cambio, que miren mi transformación como persona y que se den cuenta. ¿Ya? Y cuando tengo la oportunidad de platicar con alguien, ya sea uno a uno caminando en la yarda o algo, compartir sobre el programa, decirle cómo me ha enseñado, decirle que él también tiene la oportunidad de obtener un beneficio del grupo. Si él participa, si él se envuelve y desea practicar y participar en el grupo al 100%, él va a tener un beneficio. De esa manera yo lo comparto y lo llevo a los demás, a mi comunidad aquí mismo en la yarda. Y allá afuera trato de escribirles a cada uno, de traducirles lo que es una herramienta a mis hermanos, a mis amigos, y explicarles de qué trata la herramienta, para que ellos también sepan, no nomás aquí las necesitamos, también allá afuera hay muchas necesidades de estas herramientas, y trato de traducirlas y en mis propias palabras explicarse cómo a mí me han ayudado y cómo a ellos les pueden ayudar, que lo intenten, que las utilicen y la practiquen. Como persona yo quisiera ser recordado, no como la persona que quisiera ser recordado como una persona que supe levantarme cuantas veces tropecé, cuantas veces caí, que a pesar de tener muchos tropiezos en mi vida, he luchado y he salido adelante, he buscado de una forma positiva sobreponerme ante las situaciones. De esa manera quiero que me recuerde la gente, mi familia y todos, que a pesar de que caía, que no era perfecto, luchaba por levantarme y seguir adelante de una forma positiva. Esa es la manera que yo quiero que sea recordado. Mi nombre es Francisco, soy un rostro de GOGI.
Francisco toma su papel de entrenador de pares muy seriamente. Él adora a sus estudiantes. Nosotros estamos muy agradecidos por su devoción.
Buenas tardes, Cristóbal.
Buenas tardes.
¿Cómo estás esta tarde?
Muy bien, gracias a usted.
Muy bien, gracias. Es un gusto estar aquí con ustedes en este día. Ahora estamos aquí entrevistándoles, haciéndole una pregunta referente de GOGI. ¿Cómo fue que usted comenzó con GOGI, con el programa de GOGI?
El programa de GOGI escuché de un amigo mío en 2011. El 2011 fue un año malo para mí. En enero del 2011 se murió mi madre. En febrero de 2011 me tocó ir a la audiencia de libertad condicional. Me negaron 7 años. Una persona me mencionó del programa de GOGI y decidí darme la oportunidad de asistir a GOGI.
¿Cómo es que usted comenzó a hacer GOGI? ¿Cómo lo comenzó a practicar? ¿Cómo empezó usted a aprender esas herramientas y empezar a usarlas?
Cuando aprendí a GOGI, las herramientas se me hacían un poco como que no tenían sentido para mí. Pero leyendo libros y escuchando con los compañeros del grupo me di cuenta que tenían un valor muy importante para mi vida. Aprendí que el estilo de vida que yo llevaba era muy diferente. era un estilo de vida muy negativo y las herramientas de GOGI me dieron la oportunidad de poder mirar la vida de una manera diferente.
¿Qué tan diferente es su vida ahora que está haciendo GOGI a la vida de antes?
Mi vida es muy diferente porque yo soy de Tijuana, México, y es un lugar donde a una pequeña edad fui introducido a un mundo que yo nunca había conocido. A la edad de los 14 años empecé a andar en las cantinas y me introducí a un mundo diferente. A la edad de 16 años vivía con una prostituta que tenía 36 años, era mucho mayor que yo, y fui introducido a un mundo que yo no conocía. Empecé a vivir un estilo de vida muy diferente al que yo tenía planeado desde mi juventud. Ese estilo de vida me llevó por un camino que solo dejé problemas, sufrimiento y dolor para muchas personas y para mí mismo.
¿Cómo se mira su familia ahora que está usted usando las herramientas que ha aprendido?
Mi familia ahora me mira una persona diferente. Ha notado el cambio por las cartas que les escribo. Cuando me comunico con ellos por teléfono, han podido ver la diferencia. He podido tener la oportunidad de compartir algunas de las herramientas con mis familiares y les han ayudado en alguna manera a solucionar problemas que han tenido en su vida.
¿Usted quiere decir que su vida es mucho más diferente ahora con GOGI, viviendo la vida GOGI a la vida que tenía antes?
Sí, la GOGI para mí es un estilo de vida totalmente diferente estilo de vida que tenía antes. Esto es un estilo de vida diferente. GOGI me ha dado la oportunidad de tener control de mis pensamientos, de tomar mis decisiones. Ahora no permito que nadie tome decisiones por mí. Antes yo justificaba todo el tiempo culpando a las demás personas por todas las cosas que me suceden a mí. Las herramientas de GOGI me enseñaron a tomar responsabilidad por mis acciones, que yo soy el único que decido.
¿Cuál es la herramienta que usted piensa que le ayuda más y le sigue ayudando y cómo es que la continúa usando?
Hay una herramienta muy importante que se llama ¿Qué tal si? Esa herramienta yo decidí ponerla en efecto porque dije, ¿qué tal si decido cambiar mi vida y darme una oportunidad a ser una persona mejor, una persona diferente? Poder ser un hijo, un mejor hermano, un mejor padre. Y me di esa oportunidad. La herramienta ¿Qué tal si? Me da la oportunidad de todos los días cuando me levanto en la mañana planear mi día. Me pongo a pensar, si me comporto de esta manera, el resultado va a ser este. Si me comporto de una manera negativa, mi resultado puede ser muy negativo. Me da la oportunidad, yo la miro esa herramienta como que yo puedo ser el escritor, el productor y el actor de mi vida. Yo decido mi vida con la herramienta ¿Qué tal si?
Y usted en realidad está en lo correcto, porque esa herramienta, usted es el dueño de esa herramienta. Usted la puede usar de la manera como le puede resultar mejor a usted. Y ya ve, usted está viendo el cambio que ha hecho usted.
GOGI fue el primer grupo que yo empecé. Después me hice facilitador de GOGI. Gracias a las herramientas que me dio GOGI, he tenido la oportunidad de facilitar otros grupos en español, tales como CGA, Avatar, 12 Pasos en Español de Alcohólicos Anónimos, Celebrando la Recuperación, pero todo ha sido gracias a las herramientas de GOGI, que me enseñaron a vivir una vida de servicio.
¿Cómo ha notado que le ha respondido a la comunidad aquí en donde usted está en estos momentos? ¿Cómo le ha contestado a la comunidad a usted en referente a la manera que enseña GOGI y cómo puede aprender GOGI?
Tuve el privilegio de yo y otros compañeros ser los primeros que empezamos el grupo de GOGI en español aquí. Y creo que ha sido el primer grupo en las instituciones de toda California que ha tenido la oportunidad de tener GOGI en español. Y he tenido el privilegio de compartir con personas que los he mirado, personas que no han llorado por 50 años. Y basado en esa herramienta, lo que compartimos nuestras vidas, experiencias, cómo GOGI cambió nuestra vida, he mirado personas llorar y de verdad tener un impacto en sus vidas. Y eso me hace sentir libre por dentro. Porque aunque yo estaba en la prisión, estaba en otra prisión adentro, que era dentro de mí. Estaba prisionero dentro por todo mi pasado, cargaba todo mi pasado, mi resentimiento, mis odios, mis rencores, los cargué por muchos años. Eso estaba en una prisión doble. GOGI me dio la oportunidad de poderme liberar de esa prisión. Aunque estoy aquí en la prisión ahorita, pero puedo decir que estoy libre por dentro.
Ahora, si el día de mañana usted llega a morir, que eventualmente todos morimos, ¿cómo quisiera usted que la comunidad describa qué clase de persona usted fue?
A mí me gustaría que me recordaran como una persona que tomó malas decisiones en su vida, que vivió una vida destructiva, pero que tomó la decisión de cambiar y vivir una vida de servicio para los demás. Mi nombre es Cristóbal y soy una cara de GOGI.
Cristóbal ha tomado por sí mismo en ayudar y asistir a los facilitadores que hablan en español. Él, como entrenador de pares, entiende la importancia en entrenar nuevos líderes de GOGI.
There are many men and women in jails and prisons, much like these men of GOGI, who are discovering an internal freedom that remain elusive to most people. Can it be that in environments traditionally known for violence and crime, that men and women in prison are discovering the true secret of internal freedom? Are these men very different from you? Or have they simply discovered simple tools for positive decision-making that they are using to change their lives? You know, within each of us is the capability of creating an extraordinary life, regardless of where we call home. Are you ready